The unwanted signal. The night was quiet across Earth, cities glowing with lights, oceans resting under the moon, and deserts lying still under the stars. But in one corner of the universe, something had awakened. It was not a star, not a planet, but a signal, a message that cut through space like a whisper that refused to be ignored. On Earth, in a deep underground facility, scientists were busy checking the sky through giant radio dishes. They expected nothing, as most nights were silent, but then the machines started to beep, the screens started to glow, and strange patterns began to form. One scientist looked closer and froze. "It's not noise," he whispered. "It's language." Within minutes, alarms echoed across the building. Messages were sent to governments, security forces, and world leaders. The strange transmission repeated again and again, clear, demanding, and terrifying. It was not a greeting. It was not a warning. It was a request, or perhaps an order. The translation came slowly at first. The scientists broke down the alien code piece by piece. Finally, the meaning was revealed. The words on the screen made every heart tremble. 7 million of our women demand humans in the mating season. The room went silent. Nobody breathed. Nobody spoke. It felt impossible, unreal, like some twisted joke from the stars. But the signal did not stop. It played again and again, echoing into the night sky. Around the world, chaos followed. In Washington, the president was rushed to a secure bunker. In Beijing, generals shouted across tables. In Moscow, old war rooms lit up for the first time in years. Everyone asked the same question: why humans? Why now in villages and towns? Rumors spread faster than fire. People whispered about aliens, women from the stars, millions of them. Some laughed in disbelief, others trembled in fear, but one truth was clear: this was not science fiction anymore. This was real. In the desert of Nevada, military radars locked on something massive. At first they thought it was a meteor shower, but then the object slowed down, aligned, and hovered in perfect silence above Earth. There were 7 giant ships, each one the size of a city. They glowed with strange lights, blue and violet, pulsing like a heartbeat. From space, they looked beautiful, but to the people below, they were terrifying. The aliens had arrived, and they were not hiding. Their presence was clear. Humanity had been chosen, or maybe hunted. Inside the United Nations, panic filled the chambers. Some leaders shouted for war, others begged for peace. But no one could deny the truth. If 7 million alien women truly demanded humans, then no army could stop them. The question was not how to fight them. The question was whether to answer them at all. In the small control room where the first signal was heard, Dr. Samuel Kane sat frozen at his desk. His hands trembled as he read the words again. He had studied the stars all his life, hoping to find intelligent life. But now that it had happened, he wished he had never looked, because this was not contact. This was demand, and demand meant danger. As night turned into dawn, the ships still hovered above the Earth. They did not fire weapons, they did not speak, but their signal continued, repeating, never changing, like a heartbeat of another world, pressing against humanity's chest. People gathered in the streets, staring up at the sky. Some prayed, others cursed, and some stood in silence. The air was heavy, filled with fear and questions. Then, on every screen, every device, every channel, the signal appeared. No matter if it was a phone, a radio, or a television, the same message glowed. The aliens were no longer whispering to governments. They were speaking to every single human alive. 7 million of our women demand humans in the mating season, children screamed. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles, and leaders buried their heads in their hands. It was no longer a secret. The entire world knew. The alien demand had reached every ear, every home, every soul, and in that moment, humanity realized something. The age of being alone in the universe was over. The age of being hunted had just begun. The great debate. The world did not sleep that night. The alien ships still hovered above the Earth, glowing like silent giants in the sky. The signal kept repeating, steady, cold, and demanding. And while ordinary people panicked, prayed, or protested in the streets, the leaders of the world gathered to decide humanity's fate inside the United Nations building. The atmosphere was tense. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, and generals sat around a massive table. Some faces were pale with fear, others hardened with anger. Nobody wanted to be the first to speak, but finally, one leader broke the silence. "We are not negotiating with this madness," he said, slamming his fist on the table. "If they want humans for mating, it means they want to enslave us." Another voice rose, calm but sharp. "And if we fight them, we die," the woman said. "Do you not see the size of their ships? Do you not feel the weight of their technology? They crossed galaxies to find us. Do you really believe our missiles can stop them?" Arguments erupted. Some shouted for war, some shouted for surrender. Some whispered about secret deals, offering prisoners or volunteers in exchange for safety. The debate was no longer about humanity's pride. It was about survival. Dr. Samuel Kane was invited into the chamber as the chief scientist who decoded the signal. He looked exhausted, his eyes red from sleepless nights. He cleared his throat and said, "I believe the aliens are desperate, not invaders. Their women are demanding humans because they cannot survive without us." His words filled the room with shock. "Why humans?" someone shouted. "Why not another species?" Samuel shook his head. "I do not know, but this is not a request of war. It is a plea for survival. Yet survival for them could mean extinction for us." Across the table, military generals whispered to each other. Their plans were brutal: strike first, cripple the alien ships, show strength. But every simulation showed the same result. Earth would burn. The alien technology was beyond comprehension, even if humans resisted. The cost would be unthinkable. Meanwhile, outside the chamber, the streets of New York, Beijing, and London were filled with chaos. Some people carried banners saying, "Send them volunteers." Others screamed, "Fight to the last breath." Strange cults appeared overnight, worshipping the alien women as goddesses, while at the same time, militia groups promised to defend humanity with their blood. The planet was divided, and the aliens had not even spoken a second word. Back in the chamber, the debate reached its breaking point. The French president stood up, his voice trembling. "Listen to me," he said. "If we do nothing, they will take what they want. If we resist, we will be crushed. The only path left is to talk to them, to learn their terms, to understand why humanity matters so much to them." The room went silent for the first time. The idea of negotiation entered the discussion, but with it came new fears. If they talked, would that mean agreement? Would that mean sacrifice? And if they refused, would the aliens unleash a storm upon Earth? Dr. Kane's voice trembled as he spoke again. "Perhaps we should not see this as their demand," he said. "Perhaps we should see this as our challenge, a test of whether humanity can remain united, or whether fear will tear us apart." But unity was already crumbling. Every leader wanted a different answer. Every nation feared being the first target. As the arguments roared, the alien ships continued to shine in the night sky, silent, patient, waiting, and with every hour, the signal repeated across Earth. 7 million of our women demand humans in the mating season. The world was trapped between choices: surrender or war, negotiation or silence, and deep in every human heart, a terrible question grew. If humanity gave in, what would it mean for the future of the species? Would humans become partners, or would they become cattle? The debate raged on until dawn, but no decision was made. The leaders were paralyzed by fear and pride, and outside, the people of Earth looked to the sky, waiting, wondering, and dreading the moment when the aliens would finally break their silence. The arrival fleet, the dawn sky was red when the silence finally broke. People across the world lifted their eyes upward, and what they saw made them forget to breathe. The alien fleet had moved. No longer shadows in orbit, but titans descending. Closer to Earth, 7 ships, each one vast as a floating city, glowed above the clouds. Their shapes were unlike anything humans had ever built. Curved and elegant like living creatures, yet sharp and unyielding like blades. Blue energy pulsed across their hulls, running like veins through an alien body. The world understood one truth: this was not human technology. This was something far older, far stronger, and far more advanced. The largest ship broke from formation and cast its shadow over the Pacific Ocean. The waters churned as its engines hummed without sound, without fire, yet with power that bent the air itself. Fishermen abandoned their boats, islands fell into silence, and whole coastlines froze under the glow of the alien vessel. The ship moved with calm precision, not rushing, not threatening, just watching, waiting, like a predator circling its prey. In the skies above Europe, another ship appeared. Its surface shimmered like glass, reflecting sunlight into dazzling beams. Cities below trembled as the alien craft hovered, massive enough to blot out the sun. Children cried, soldiers stared, and scientists whispered in disbelief. Everywhere, the fleet revealed itself. One ship over Africa, one over Asia, one over the Americas, all perfectly placed, all perfectly still inside military command rooms. Alarms screamed, missiles were armed. Jets scrambled, submarines shifted under the seas. But none dared to fire the first shot, because deep down, everyone knew if humanity attacked, it would be suicide. The alien fleet could destroy Earth before a single missile left its silo, and then it happened. For the first time, the ships spoke not with words, but with light. Strange symbols glowed across their surfaces, waves of color sweeping across their hulls. The sky turned into a language, brilliant and terrifying. Dr. Samuel Kane stared at the screens, his heart racing. "They are not just showing power," he whispered. "They are showing identity. They are introducing themselves." Crowds gathered in every city, staring up at the alien symbols painting. The clouds, some fell to their knees, calling the aliens saviors. Others raised their fists, calling them demons. The earth was split between worship and rebellion, fear and fascination. Suddenly, one of the ships lowered a beam of light. It pierced the atmosphere like a column of fire, yet it burned nothing, destroyed nothing. Instead, it shaped itself into an image, an alien woman, towering, majestic, and undeniable. Her skin shimmered with silver, her eyes glowed violet, and her voice thundered across the planet. "We have come. Our time is short. Our need is great. 7 million of our kind demand humans for the season of life." The words echoed through every device, every mind. No translation machines were needed now. Somehow the voice reached the brain directly. Children understood. Elders understood. Everyone understood. There was no hiding, no pretending. The demand was real. In the streets, chaos exploded. Some men volunteered on the spot, shouting to the sky. Others hid inside their homes, refusing to be taken. Mothers clutched their sons, fathers locked their doors. And across the world, the question returned, heavier than ever. What did the aliens truly want? Were humans to be mates, partners, or prisoners? Was this salvation? Or was this conquest disguised as desperation? The fleet gave no answers. They only hovered, glowing like watchful gods above the earth. Their patience was endless, their presence unshakable, and humanity, for the first time in history, realized it was no longer the dominant species on its own planet. The arrival was complete. The demand was clear. The next move belonged to humanity. But deep in every heart, a dreadful fear grew stronger. The aliens had not come to negotiate. They had come to claim the first contact for 3 days. The alien fleet hung above Earth like silent watchers. They did not fire. They did not leave. They only waited, and with every passing hour, the pressure grew heavier. Humanity could not endure the silence any longer. At last, the world leaders agreed. Someone had to speak to them. Someone had to step forward before panic consumed the planet. So a decision was made in secrecy. A human envoy would be sent to meet the aliens face to face. The choice of who to send was debated endlessly. Generals wanted soldiers, politicians wanted diplomats, scientists wanted researchers, but in the end, the name that echoed the loudest was Dr. Samuel Kane, the man who had first decoded their signal, the man who had warned that this was not just demand but survival. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a man walking into the unknown. As he stood in the launch bay of a military shuttle, his hands trembled. "Remember," one general said to him, "do not show weakness. They must see strength in us." But another whispered, "Do not show pride. They might see it as arrogance." Confusion filled Samuel's heart. How could anyone know how to deal with beings who crossed galaxies? The shuttle rose into the sky, leaving the Earth below. Its engines burned bright as it moved toward the largest alien ship. The closer it flew, the smaller the human craft seemed. Like an insect drifting toward a mountain, the alien ship was alive with light, symbols glowing like stars across its surface. Samuel could feel the weight of their attention pressing against him. It was not just technology, it was presence. A living awareness that reached inside his chest. When the shuttle docked, a tunnel of pure light surrounded it. The walls shifted like liquid crystal, forming a pathway that carried Samuel forward. His boots touched the floor of the alien vessel, and for the first time, a human stood inside their world. The chamber was vast, shaped like a cathedral, glowing with soft blue energy, and in the center stood 3 alien women. Tall, graceful, and terrifying, their forms were human-like but not human. Their eyes were brighter than any star, their movements too fluid, too precise. Their presence made Samuel's breath falter. He felt both small and exposed, yet strangely chosen. The tallest of them stepped forward, her voice echoing without sound. "Human," she said, not in words but directly into his mind. "You hear us now?" Samuel swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes," he whispered, his voice shaking. "I hear you." The alien's eyes narrowed, glowing with violet fire. "Do you understand our need?" Samuel's heart pounded. He wanted to say no, he wanted to say yes, but instead he asked, "Why us? Why humans?" For the first time, the aliens exchanged glances. It was clear they did not expect the question. Finally, the leader spoke. "Again, because you are the last key, your blood carries what ours has lost. Without you, our kind ends." The words cut through Samuel like a blade. They were not here for conquest, at least not in the way he feared. They were here for survival. But survival for them could mean slavery for humans. 7 million alien women demanding humans. It was not balance, it was domination. Samuel tried to steady his voice. "What if we refuse?" he asked. The chamber fell silent. The alien's glowing eyes burned into his soul. "Then we take, for our season cannot wait." The threat was clear. This was not partnership. This was desperation sharpened into power. Samuel realized the truth in that moment. Humanity was not negotiating from strength. Humanity was standing at the edge of a storm. The aliens were not monsters, but they were not merciful either. They would do whatever was necessary to survive. And as Samuel stood trembling in the great chamber, one thought echoed in his mind. The world must never know the full truth of what he had just heard, because if they did, panic would turn into chaos, and chaos would bring the aliens exactly what they wanted. Chaos on Earth. When news of the first contact reached Earth, it did not come through governments, it leaked. Whispered from scientists to soldiers, from soldiers to families, from families to the streets. And soon, the world erupted in New York. Thousands filled the squares, holding signs that read, "Take me," while others screamed, "Resist the invasion." Police lines broke as people clashed, some desperate to volunteer, others desperate to fight. Helicopters swarmed the skies, watching riots spread like fire across the city. The sound of sirens never stopped. In small towns, mothers locked their sons inside basements. In prisons, entire blocks of men disappeared overnight, handed over by corrupt officials who saw profit in the chaos. Across deserts and mountains, Smugglers promised safe passage to alien zones, charging gold, weapons, and blood for a chance to be chosen. The black market was alive, and for the first time in history, its currency was human lives. Governments tried to control the panic. Broadcasts urged calm, but nobody listened. Some leaders told their people the aliens were allies, saviors of a dying race. Others told them the aliens were conquerors, monsters who would enslave mankind. The truth twisted into a weapon, reshaped by fear, greed, and desperation. Dr. Samuel Kane returned from the alien ship pale and hollow-eyed. He was ordered to keep his words secret, but the way he walked, the way he looked, told everyone more than any speech could. The world saw his silence as proof of something darker, and whispers grew. Had the aliens already taken control of him? Religions cracked and divided. Some priests declared the aliens were demons, punishment from the heavens. Others claimed they were angels, divine mothers sent to renew the earth. New cults rose overnight, men offering themselves in ceremonies, chanting under the alien ships. The faithful and the faithless clashed in bloody streets, each claiming they knew the truth. Meanwhile, the aliens themselves began to move there. Ships lowered beams of light in selected places. From deserts, from oceans, from jungles, they gathered resources not for war, but for life. They were building something massive. Satellite images showed strange alien structures rising on the edges of cities. No one knew what they were, but everyone feared their purpose. Panic gave birth to violence. Militia groups rose in the shadows, armed with stolen weapons, declaring war on both governments and aliens. They kidnapped men, hoarded them, and claimed they would choose who gets offered. For them, power was no longer land or money, it was control over the bodies of men, every day. More blood spilled in the name of survival. Inside the White House, the president slammed his hands on the table. "We are losing control," he said. "Every hour we wait, the world tears itself apart." But his generals could only shake their heads. Missiles and tanks meant nothing against the alien fleet. The real war was already here, not between humans and aliens, but between humans themselves, on the streets of Cairo. A crowd gathered under the alien light, chanting to be taken. But when the beam touched them, it ignored the women and children, scanning only the men. Some cheered, others wept. But when the chosen vanished in a flash of blue, the crowd fell silent. They were not taken as volunteers, they were taken as resources. The world finally understood the danger. The aliens were not waiting for permission, they were already choosing, and in that single moment, all illusions shattered. This was not a negotiation, this was a harvest. 7 million alien women demanded humans, and the season had already begun. Asterisk, the ultimate challenge. The earth was on the edge of breaking. Riots spread like wildfire, cities burned, and trust between nations vanished. Every government blamed the other, accusing them of secret deals with the aliens, and all the while, the alien ships hovered calmly, silent, patient, like predators watching prey exhaust itself. The demand was no longer a mystery. 7 million alien women required humans, not tomorrow, not next year, but now. The mating season had begun. And with it came the ticking of a clock humanity could not see. The world had no time. In secret chambers, leaders argued. One side shouted that humanity should resist, fight to the last breath. Another side whispered that sacrifice was better than extinction, that millions of men should be given to save billions. It was no longer about what was right. It was about what could be survived. Dr. Samuel Kane sat at the edge of the chamber, his voice ignored as generals and politicians fought. But inside his mind, the memory of the alien leader's words echoed again and again. "If you refuse, we take." That single promise haunted him. They were not asking, they were warning. Across the globe, strange patterns appeared. Entire villages emptied overnight. The men gone, the women left behind weeping. Military satellites confirmed the truth. The aliens were no longer waiting for negotiations. They had begun their harvest in silence. One by one, human lives were vanishing into beams of light. In the chaos, a desperate idea emerged. If humans could not match the aliens in strength, perhaps they could match them in cunning. The plan was dangerous, reckless, but it was the only hope left. Humanity would give the aliens what they wanted, but on its own terms. The proposal was simple and terrifying. Select men, trained, prepared, and secretly armed, would be offered as volunteers. They would enter the alien world, not as victims, but as hidden weapons, spies, saboteurs, and witnesses who could learn the truth of the aliens' purpose. It was a gamble, a knife hidden inside an outstretched hand. But the debate raged. Some leaders feared the aliens would discover the trick and retaliate. Others argued it was humanity's only chance to strike from within. The world had never been so divided, yet for the first time, the path forward was clear. Do nothing and be taken. Fight openly and be destroyed, or fight silently. From the inside, Samuel Cain raised his voice, desperate. "We cannot send lambs to slaughter," he cried. "If we give them our people without a plan, humanity ends. But if we act with intelligence, if we turn this demand into our weapon, then maybe, just maybe, we survive." For once, the chamber fell silent. His words were no longer ignored, because deep down, everyone knew he was right outside. The alien ships lowered again, beams of light sweeping across cities, scanning, demanding, collecting. The season was reaching its peak. Time was almost gone, and humanity stood before the greatest decision in its history. To surrender and hope for mercy, to resist and face destruction, or to gamble everything on one dangerous plan. The hidden war inside the alien fleet. The ultimate challenge had arrived, and the world held its breath, because in the next move, the fate of humanity would be decided forever. Humanity's answer: the world was trembling under the weight of silence. Alien ships hovered above like gods of judgment. Beams of light kept scanning the earth, taking men without permission. It seemed humanity was doomed to be harvested, but then came the answer, not from armies, not from politicians, but from the human spirit itself. The plan was set into motion. A group of chosen men soldiers, scientists, and ordinary volunteers stepped forward. They were not forced. They were not prisoners. They were willing to risk their lives for all mankind. Each one carried more than courage. Hidden within their bodies were devices, tiny weapons, tools of sabotage, and encrypted transmitters. They were humanity's spies, humanity's last gamble. The aliens accepted them eagerly, beams of light, swallowing the men and carrying them into the ships. The world watched in fear as its suns disappeared into the unknown. Every second felt like eternity. Had humanity just sent its bravest into slavery? Or had it planted its first seeds of resistance? Inside the alien vessel, the chosen men walked into a world unlike anything they had imagined. Cities of light stretched inside the ships. Glowing rivers flowed through alien halls, and millions of women moved with desperate purpose. The air itself vibrated with strange energy. It was beautiful, yet it was a cage. And in that cage, the men realized the truth. This was not love, not partnership, but survival at any cost, back on Earth. Leaders waited for the first signal. Hours passed, then days. The alien fleet showed no change, no aggression, no mercy. But deep in the shadows of the ships, the men began their work. They mapped the alien systems. They studied the structures. They whispered to each other in codes the aliens could not hear. And for the first time since the demand began, humanity had eyes inside the storm. Then the breakthrough came. A single transmission slipped past alien scanners and reached Earth. The message was short, trembling, but filled with fire. They need us more than we need them. We are not slaves, we are leverage. The chamber of world leaders erupted. It was the first spark of hope since the fleet arrived. The aliens might have power, but desperation was their weakness. Without humans, their kind faced extinction. And now humanity knew the truth. They could bargain, not from fear, but but from strength. The next broadcast shocked the universe. For the first time, humanity answered the alien signal. A voice, calm but firm, echoed across the skies. "We are not cattle, we are not prey. If you want humanity, then you will treat us as equals, not as property." The alien ships flickered with light, their symbols shifting rapidly. The silence stretched long, heavy, eternal. Then the great voice of the alien leader filled the earth again. But this time, it was different, softer, edged with something humans had never heard before: respect. "Perhaps we chose too harshly. Perhaps we demanded too much. Humanity, you are unlike any we have known. We will speak again." And with that, the beams of light vanished, the harvesting stopped, the fleet remained. But no more men were taken. The standoff had not ended, but humanity had survived its first trial. Dr. Samuel Kane stood at the window of the command room, staring up at the silent giants in the sky. He whispered to himself, "This is not the end. This is only the beginning." The world had faced the ultimate challenge. It had not won. It had not lost. But it had proven one truth: humans could not be broken by fear. Humans could not be reduced to resources. And even before 7 million alien women, humanity still had the power to choose its own fate. The story was not over. It had only just begun.